Hey friends, this is Dave, and today I wanted to do a deck tech on Thanos, this guy, preparing the way. I was doing an unboxing, which may or may not already be up on the channel, and I came across this card, and I hadn't really seriously looked at him. I think when I was looking at set stuff, I just kind of scrolled right by. When I opened the card, I thought, there are probably some interesting things you could do with this guy. For one, his stats are not bad. He attacks 5, 7, 9, and he's got Overcrush. So maybe you could build a team around him as a win condition. Now, do I expect this to necessarily be the top of the meta? No, I don't. Do I consider myself an expert deck builder? No, I don't. I think I have a good strategy that is one descriptive of successful decks that I've seen in the past. And this is something I talked about a long time ago, and I still see people talk about it, so it must still be relevant. And that strategy is about a narrow win condition, narrow by way of meaning focused in this case, stuff to protect it, stuff to make it efficient, and so forth and so on. So we're going to look into that, and we're going to look at how I look at cards when I'm building decks. I've been teaching a couple people recently, some new players, and the discussion has been helpful for them, and so hopefully putting that out in video form will be helpful for you. So, let's continue to look through here. Thanos preparing the way. I'm using the Dice Coalition's excellent team builder. Thank you to the folks who maintain that. We all in the Dice Masters community appreciate you. No question, no doubt. A lot of those folks I know from previous work with Dice Masters, so I'm glad to see it running. I've already narrowed down to the new modern that's approaching, IG DPS and Kryptonite Crisis, and we brought up our Thanos. So what I see here, what I like about him is that he has essentially a self Dark Phoenix global, right? The Dark Phoenix global, this is not the highest res here, but pay a bolt, knock out a character die, the next die is discounted by 2, the next die you purchase. We kind of does that on his own. And I kind of like that because he makes himself cheaper without you having to bring a global that could benefit your opponent. Now, if your opponent brings Dark Phoenix, cool, they made the game a little bit easier for you. And I like it when there's a team that can maybe work even better, work well on its own, but work maybe even better in a way that your opponent wouldn't consider if there's a global that they brought. So I really like that. So obviously the next thing we need is a Black Order character die. I was going to highlight the text, it won't let me. Next thing we need is a Black Order character die. So let's just sort by that affiliation. It's over here somewhere. No, it's over here somewhere. Haha, just kidding. I zoomed in a little bit so it changes positions. So let's scroll a little. Actually, let's organize by cost. So immediately, Corvus has to be on the short list. Why? It's cheap, right? Fields for inexpensive, and he only costs 2. He's on the short list. But I want to move to Proxima Midnight, actually. I really like this, because this is an extra Dark Phoenix global. If I have enough stuff to knock out, at least, I can Thanos, I can field her, I can use Thanos' ability, and I can use her own ability. Plus, this way I have ways of discounting things that are not Thanos. So that seems good to me. I like that. She makes the team. And she was one of the ones I had in mind very quickly when we were looking at this. There are other things I like here. If we look at some of the other Corvuses, I do kind of like Ebony Maw. Deal 2 damage to target character. If that die is KO'd by this damage, the next character die you purchase this turn costs 1 less. Well, so there's a little bit more of a discount, not as much. And it could be a way to clear the field, to get rid of some of the blockers. Because if we're winning by combat damage, even with Overcrush, they can still stack up blocks. So we need some way to get rid of the little dudes. Because the little dudes can stack up on top of each other to equal perhaps that 9 attack. So I kind of like that. I'm going to take it for now, and I lost it. There it is. Take it for now. We'll sort out the number of dice later. So I like this as a start. I think it's helpful. I think it can work. Now, I'm not necessarily going to be in a position to attack with our Thanos here right away. He might have to sit in the field. there are a lot of things right now that re-roll dice. Now, there are a couple of ways, and a lot of those also, let's see here, re-roll. Yeah. Have to do with things that are a when fielded effect. Or, oh wait, we're still on Black Order. There we go. Okay. So things that allow you to re-roll are often when fielded. Re-roll target opposing character die. Now, this is a while active, but that's if the opponent's using a continuous, so that has nothing to do with anything. Reroll a die in your reserve pool. Now, that's Awaken. We can't really defend that there. But there are several when fielded reroll effects. Anti-Monitor has that. Storm has that. So it might be nice to have a way around some when fielded effects. Now, there's two ways that we can do that. One way is Angela, Odin's daughter. When she's active, ignore your opponent's when fielded abilities. I like this one. Another one is, if I can type, another one is Wonder Woman, Legendary. And of course, you ignore opposing when fielded and when attacks abilities. Now, this can be really good considering other things in the meta, like Master Mold, Super Rare especially. But I'm already reaching for a high-cost character with Thanos. I'm going to stick with Angela for now, but I think if I were to playtest this team, I would try Wonder Woman. I think that's valid. Okay, so we have a core here. We have Thanos as our win con, Proxima, Midnight, and Ebony Maw help to make him possible. Proxima helps me get him online, and Ebony Maw helps me to get him online and clear the way for stuff that he'll do. So what else are we going to do here? So another thing I want to do is have the ability to re-roll stuff that's going to sit in my opponent's field. Ideally, maybe a non-expensive way to do that. If I'm going to go against a team that does that, I don't necessarily want to deviate too far from my game plan. So what can I use? One thought I have here is Wong, second rate Jarvis. When fielded, if you spent one or more mask energy to field Wong, reroll target opposing character die. Now that mask thing is tough. We do have Ebony Maw and Thanos, though hopefully we're not rolling Thanos too often. It could work, but another thing to consider is that I'm only going to get that on his level 2 and 3 character faces. So I'm actually only getting that, 1/3 of the time. And that's assuming I have a mask energy to spend to field him. So it's a possibility, but I'm not sure. So looking at rerolls here, Joker is interesting. So when fielded, you may immediately KO the Joker. So he's going to go right to prep, which isn't bad. It gives you some more dice to roll. If you do, deal 1 damage to target sidekick character die and reroll target non-sidekick character die. So I like that. 1, again, clears out a chump blocker, or I could use it on my own sidekick to kick him over to prep and give me something else to use. And I can reroll something on the other side. So if my opponent has a sticky die, it could be a way to deal with it. So Joker gets added to the list for now. Oops, the wrong Joker. So Joker gets added to the list for now. Another one I think of is Drax, the rare Drax in particular. So when fielded, choose an opposing card, canceling all previous choices. Your opponent may not purchase or field that character until Drax leaves the field zone. I like this for a couple of reasons. Well, 1, he has a global that pumps, though it's not cheap. Has a global that pumps up, +1/+1. 2, he can deal with 1, stuff that does things like I'm talking about. I can prevent the big bruiser on the other side from even getting out there at all. So I like this. The only drawback is I have to be preemptive with him, but I think that's okay. So we're going to add Drax to the roster here, and we have 6 cards right now. I'm not worried about the dice allocation. I'm not sure what else. I'm going to need to think about other characters, but for the time being, let's think about basic actions. Oh, something I should mention about Joker, by the way. Of course, we get the ramp global here, which is pretty key. I really like that one. So, moving on to our basic actions. Sometimes I like to look at Villainous Pact. It has ramp. I don't think we need to worry about that right now. Plus, I don't like that ability against this team, which currently only has 1 villain on it. My opponent could buy that and could do things that I don't like. Let's get rid of that. And we're looking for type, basic actions. And the first thing that comes to mind for me is anger issues. +3 attack, gains overcrush. So this is good for a couple of reasons. Of course, the global there too is another reason why it's good. +3 attack and gains overcrush. 1, I can just make my Thanos even bigger. 2, a lot of this stuff, especially on its level 2 and 3 faces, has a decent attack made even better with anger issues. Now all of a sudden this is 6, 7, 7 attack. Or down here we have 7 or 7 on level 2 and level 3. So that could be valid. Even Drax, the pacifist that he is, that can work well. So I like this, and I like the pump on it. I like being able to use my extra fists for that. Do I have a lot of fists right now? No, I don't, but that might inform something else that I take here. We'll have to see. Of course, we always have the fists from sidekick character dice and whatnot, too. All right. We need another basic action, so I don't know why I did that. One that I'm going to start with is Huge Smash. I just like the global a lot. We may nix that and do something else later, but I like the global. It just adds some churn. Right, there's ramp and there's churn. Ramp is rolling more dice each turn. Churn is getting through your bag a little bit faster. This is a pure churn global. Pull out a sidekick, toss it aside. Don't need it right now. Okay, so back to our cards. So I want, that's one generic, that's fine. We have globals that are masks, shields. We have masks and shields. That's fine with me. We have a global that's a fist, and we don't have a fist. So I'm wondering, is there a fist character that can help me, or that can either help me win or can help protect something? And that's going to be what we'll look for now. So let's look at our fist dice that are not basic actions, and let's go back by cost. Okay. Beast with the Overcrush. Doesn't have a lot of attack, but he can be pumped. Oh, boy, we come back to Corvus Glaive. But I don't necessarily want him in my early plan. And a 2 cost you really just want to buy early. Like, I feel like the first purchase for this team is probably Proxima Midnight or Drax. Depending on what I see on the other side. If I need to go defensive first, of course we're going Drax. You know, something else I'm thinking about, though, is that we're not super reliant on globals. We have a couple that will help us. I'm wondering if we can fit Pip the Troll in here. So another shield, which is fine, but I love this taxing global here. While Pip the Troll is active, your opponents pay 1 more to use each global ability. We're not super global reliant. If we go up and against an opponent that is, we can really give them a harder time with this. So I'm going to add that maybe. Let's go back looking for our fists. I do think I have to look at Corvus Glaive here. Either the 2 or the 3 cost. Oh, wait. Let's see here. The 2 cost is nice. It's cheap. He's not expensive to field. Let's just look at Corvus here on his own. 1 fielded, deal 1 damage to target character die. Your opponent may deal 1 damage to a target psychic. I don't know if I like that. And I don't necessarily like putting stuff back on its card. I don't think that helps. I don't have a problem with a blank character. I took a blank Ant-Man to top 8 at US Nats. Was a turn away from beating Dave Walsh back then. And he was actually a win condition. He was very helpful. I'm not sure if that's the answer, though. Let's just look at our cheap ones. 0, 2, 3. Jimmy doesn't help us. We don't have any Superman. Lois is interesting. But I don't know if I want to put damage prevention in here. That could actually get in the way of some of the plans that we have. You know, I come back to Wong, which is really interesting. I think Wong might be the way to go. Here's why. 1, he's a fist, and he's stats. He's no more expensive than Corvus Glaive, well, it's slightly more expensive. He costs 1 more total fielding cost, but not much more expensive. Stats are better overall. Gives me something that might only be situational, but can be useful. It could work. It could work. So let's look at the team that we've put together here and talk about it a little bit. Show as images. We're going to zoom out 1, 2. So we have the basic actions down here. So, in fact, shall we rearrange this? Let's rearrange this. Okay, I rearranged this a little bit so we have a different order up here, and now we can talk about it. So we have our win condition, right? Thanos. That's pretty self-explanatory. He is aided by Proxima Midnight and Ebony Maw, which will both help to proc his ability. Of course, Proxima and Ebony Maw also make purchases cheaper, which is good because that will help me with anything on my team. Now, Proxima is neat because it's the next die I purchase, so that can help me buy in Anger Issues. Ebony Maw only discounts a character, but I think I primarily have her to also look at the other side of the board and do some damage. So, and it's nice. So the damage is nice. Anger Issues is a part of this as well. I could buy it, but primarily I'm looking at the Pump Global. My philosophy on basic action dice has always been I got to have a really good reason to buy it. So anyway, that's our core here. Thanos, Proxima, Ebony, and Anger Issues. Now, what else do we have going on? We have some situational stuff here, in a sense. I think the other 5 characters are kind of situational. Some of them I might get more often than others. Drax, I think I would get in almost every game. He's just preemptively dealing with the threat on the other side of the board. That's just what it is. If my opponent has a team that is based on when fielded, I'm buying Angela. No questions asked. If I need to re-roll things, I have Wong and Joker. Wong I will probably buy a little more often than not simply because of those fists, but I'm probably getting him late game unless I have problems other places. The other thing I like is that he's an out in those early couple of turns when I'd like to be buying Proxima Midnight. Maybe I roll all fists. I gotta have something to do with those, and Wong at least helps me with my game plan. Joker also helps with the reroll, keeping dice in prep as well, and of course the global is a nice bit of ramp. Pip the Troll is going against anything that's very global oriented. If I see a Dark Phoenix on the other side of the table, other things like that, I'm buying this, and it's hopefully going to sit in the field. Obviously, anything that's going to sit in the field is subjected to reroll cards, and that's why we have some of them too. We got to watch for those things, but they can help. And then finally, of course, Huge Smash is a little bit more churn. Help us get to the dice we want just a little bit faster. Now, the cool thing is we don't need a ton of ramp with this because although we are trying to build up to a 7-cost character is like the main thrust of our strategy, he self-discounts, and there are other cards that discount that can discount for him as well with Proxima and Ebony Maw. Again, if my opponent brings Dark Phoenix, we're not sad about that, but I don't think we need it for this team to run. There are some other cards you could consider for this team. Star-Lord Power Gem. Let's pull some of these up. Take off my filters. Star-Lord Power Gem. Energize. You up to 2 target character dice get +2 attack. So you could buff your Overcrush a little further. It's not a bad idea. I don't know. We have a whole lot of stuff that's in that 3 to 4 cost range. That's in fact the vast majority of our team. I don't know that we need another one there. There are some expensive ones that could help. We talked about Wonder Woman. I like her. I might try her in that Angela slot if I were to actually do something with this team, which I might. Who knows? I like her, but 6 is not small. Now, obviously, we're hoping that our curve topper here, Thanos, is easier to purchase than his 7 cost would indicate, but I don't like having too many of those expensive ones. Instead of Pip, of course, we could look at Lilandra. While she's active, must pay 2 life to use an action die or global ability. I like that a lot. It costs 1 more. It's actually effectively the old Jinzo ability from the from the Yu-Gi-Oh set. In fact, it's functionally the same thing. I like it. She's a little bit more expensive than Pip. I think the paying life is something you can often do, and life is a resource. It's very different from effectively doubling the amount of energy they have to put into it, which can prevent them from stacking globals, from fielding things that they want, from buying things that they want. I would like to put all the hard decisions that I can onto my opponent, and I think that Pip makes decisions even harder. Another one is Jean Grey. Does what Pip does, has better stats, might consider her just because she can attack as well. But you also need a sidekick die to be active. One, sidekick dies are prime knockout fodder for what I'm doing. So I don't know about that. Two, sidekick dice are really easy for your opponent to knock out. So I don't know. I like sidekick dice either sticking in my field or in the prep area. So the fact that this one would force one to stick in the field isn't bad. But I think that Pip gets me more of what I want for this. It's hard to say. Those are all things I would try. I still think it could be worth trying that 2-cost Corvus because it's 2 cost. Why not look at it? But that's a little bit about how I look at a deck. We have the win condition as focused as possible. We have stuff to enable the win condition. We have stuff to help to protect that win condition. And of course, within that, we have some ramp and draw. Some ramp and churn, rather. I think some people might say ramp and churn is connected with the stuff to enable it. That may be the case, but it is very important to roll more dice. The important thing to remember that we sometimes hear others articulate in the Dice Masters community is that you're not going to buy everything every time. There are cards I can think of in past tournaments that I have been at that I included it in my deck, but I did not buy it every game because there wasn't a point. If my opponent is not going to use any globals, why would I buy Pip? That's probably a waste of time. Any of these sorts of things that I might buy over here, I have to do very consciously. I'm not just going to do it every game because that forces me to pivot from my game plan. It makes my potential win, my hopeful win, take longer, and that therefore gives my opponent more time to set up. If I was going full control, that might be what I want to do. Just lock them down. But that's not necessarily what this team is looking for. So in any case, that's how I'm building around Thanos preparing the way. This is just kind of off the cuff. I had a couple of notes that I wrote down before this, but this is mostly off the cuff. How would you do it? What would you do differently? Is there something that I missed? I would love to hear about it. Please tell me in the comments. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again on the University of Dice. Bye.